A displaced person is a person who has been forced to leave his or her home or place of habitual residence, a phenomenon known as forced migration. According to the UNHCR, there were 59.5 million forcibly displaced people worldwide at the end of 2014, the highest level since World War II. 19.5 million were refugees, 1.8 million asylum seekers and 38.2 million internally displaced persons. Origin of term. The term was first widely used during World War II and the resulting refugee outflows from Eastern Europe, when it was used to specifically refer one removed from his or her native country as a refugee, prisoner or a slave laborer. The meaning has significantly broadened in the past half-century. A displaced person may also be referred to as a forced migrant. The term refugee is also commonly used as a synonym for displaced person, causing confusion between the general descriptive class of anyone who has left the home and the subgroup of legally defined refugees who enjoy specified international legal protection. Most of the victims of war, political refugees and DPs of the immediate post-Second World War period were Ukrainians, Poles, other Slavs, as well as citizens of the Baltic states, Lithuanians, Latvians, and Estonians, who refused to return to Soviet-dominated Eastern Europe. A.J. Jaffe claimed that the term was originally coined by Eugene M. Kalischer. International law aspects. If the displaced person has crossed an international border and falls under one of the relevant international legal instruments, they are considered a refugee. A forced migrant who left his or her home because of political persecution or violence but did not cross an international border is commonly considered to be the less well-defined category of internally displaced person, and is subject to more tenuous international protection. The forced displacement of a number of refugees or internally displaced persons according to an identifiable policy is an example of population transfer. A displaced person who crosses an international border without permission from the country they are entering is an illegal immigrant. The most visible recent case of this is the European migrant crisis of 2014 and onward. A migrant who fled because of economic hardship is an economic migrant. A special subset of this is development-induced displacement, in which the forced migrant was forced out the home because of economically driven projects like that of the Three Gorges Dam in China and various Indian dams. The internally displaced person generally refers to one who is forced to migrate for reasons other than economic conditions, such as war or persecution. There is a body of opinion that holds that persons subject to development-induced displacement should have greater legal protection than that granted economic migrants. Persons are often displaced due to natural or man-made disasters. Displacement can also occur as a result of slow-onset climate change, such as desertification or sea level rise. A person who is displaced due to environmental factors which negatively impact his or her livelihood is generally known as an environmental migrant. Such displacement can be cross-border in nature but is frequently internal. No specific international legal instrument applies to such individuals. Foreign nations often offer disaster relief to mitigate the effects of such disaster displacement. Bogomil Terminsky distinguishes two general categories of internal displacement: displacement of risk and displacement of adaptation. Following the effects of Hurricane Katrina in 2005, the term refugee was sometimes used to describe people displaced by the storm and the aftereffects. There was an outcry that the term should not be used to describe Americans displaced within their own county, and the term evacuee was substituted in its place. The UNHCR similarly opposes the use of the term refugee in reference to environmental migrants, as this term has a strict legal definition. Bibliography. Luciak, Lubomir, Ukrainian Displaced Persons, Canada and the Migration of Memory. University of Toronto Press, 2000.